Hello and welcome everyone, a new episode of a Score Sheet. Today's episode is going to be totally dedicated to squash, and we do have one of its champions. But before we're going into the details and before going to one of my favorite games, let's talk a little bit about the core of sports, about what happened in the past 2 or 3 days, particularly when the whole world knew that Roger Federer is going to say goodbye to tennis. Okay, this is something which is really normal, despite the fact that it's going to turn a little bit emotional, but it's going to pass that smooth. But the case on the ground was not as we all thought. We found all the legends of squash gathered in one place. And guess what? The rival, or the main rival of Roger Federer, Rafa, he was even crying and being that emotional, and you would find his tears on his face more than Roger himself. They were all the time just sitting beside each other, and they were talking about what's going on as something which is really amazing when it comes to champions from this degree. I mean, when you see Nadal speaking about Roger and describing his departure or his retirement as taking part of him, he said it this way: Roger left and he took a part of me. To what extent do you think that this is real? This is too good to be true. And fortunately, we lived these moments, and we hope that these moments are going to be lessons for the coming generations to think about rivalry and to think about sports from a different perspective. We are friends, we are colleagues by the end of the day, and nothing should change that. We are rivals on court, yes, but far from court, we are just friends and colleagues, and that's it. Well, I would say to Roger, congratulations, because you deserved all this applause and all this admiration, whether from your rivals or from your audience, your fans. Well, going to another racket game, which is squash. I don't know, when it comes to squash, Egypt is always on top, and there are secrets, and there are people behind the camera, and it's becoming more popular a day after the other. We are going now to host one of our champions, one of our youth players, who is really in love with squash, and it seems that it was built since the very first moment when he held the first racket he owned. Right after the short break, we are going to turn back with Yahya Nawasani, so stay tuned.
Well, the first 2 games, actually, third game I struggled a bit. I was playing good in the third game, and I'm happy to close it with a 3-love win, not to go into a 2-1 and a 2-all and stuff. Yeah, I was thinking I had to get this game because of also because of the momentum. The tournament don't have to play so many more games, so just I have to be fit for the next matches and stuff. So I had to close it in the third one. Yeah.
Well, Yahya is one of the champions of squash, as I said, and he ranks 44. Well, tomorrow is another day for him. He has a lot to speak about and a lot to dream with. Well, we are going to start immediately, as we do have a lot to speak about. But first, let me welcome him. I'm very honored, and it's a privilege to have you, Yahya. And let's start from scratch, if you permit me. When was your very first time you said to yourself that squash is going to be my favorite sport and you are going to continue with it?
Okay, first of all, the privilege is mine to be here with you and talking about squash from scratch. Actually, I was not like I was not too interested in squash. I didn't know what squash what is about. Neither my family did when I was young. But I was playing like when I was young. I played some different sports, and I was physically well. So like they were having some like competition to see who the young players who were going to play in the squash team of the club, and like they choose who's more physically fit. And I was with a group. All of them were about 6 or 7 years old. I was the youngest when I was 4 or 5 years old back then. Remember, and the coaches there, like, they saw me playing, they saw me like running around, moving the ball around, and they said, yeah, he can be a squash player. And it turned out it worked out fine for me from now on. Like,
But what were the games you've practiced before?
I played gymnastics and I played swimming, so I had like a good physique
no
when I
racket
was young.
game?
No racket game, no.
I mean, you started your racket game with the squash.
Yeah, exactly. But like it felt weird because I had the sense of it since I started playing. So like it was a good sign that
It's great, but
yeah.
I mean, you're reading my mind. When it comes to people who moved from tennis to squash, it's okay. Even from badminton to squash, it's okay. But moving from swimming to squash and to have this physique, or not physique, the reaction, because squash, the mental fitness of squash is even more important than physical fitness, or at least they are equally important. How? Or how have you discovered this in yourself?
I've struggled a lot with all of this. Like you struggle a lot with, especially with mental toughness throughout your career. Like starting when you're young, and then you go from different level, from a level to another, to another, to another, and then it becomes too hard. Like sometimes it becomes too hard, sometimes you figure it out. So it's like it keeps like growing up with you the whole way.
Yeah.
You can't completely figure it out until like you've mastered the game. But back then, like what was more important than like having good mental strength or something was like having the good foundations to start on.
The environment.
Yeah, exactly. Like to have a good foundation to build on, and then afterwards these things are learned like throughout by experience, by learning, by teaching. These are what the coaches are for. But like when they were starting back then, were choosing back then, it was like from scratch. So it's like like more depending on the basis, like the basics of like being physically fit.
I mean, it's coaches who discover that you are talented in
yeah,
squash.
yes, exactly.
And then the other side of the coin, it was hard work, and this was your homework.
Exactly. But of course, when I was young, it was also my family's hard work, because I didn't have like I understand quite well everything. So it was like my family who pushed me like forward from since day one, especially my mom. So it's like, yeah.
This is it. I mean, you know, when it comes to a kid, or and of course he's studying, so to have all this very busy life, training all the time, having his studies, moving from a place or a city to another, this is very hectic and very busy in the same time. How have you managed your time and to keep yourself at least good in each?
First of all, like it's been like when I'm not from Cairo. Like I started playing in Tanta. So like there are two phases. The first phase when I was in Tanta, was young in Tanta. Like most of the time, like my mom used to be the one. Like he's like preparing everything for me. Like she had to prepare like when I have to study, when I have to train, when I have to have my lunch, my breakfast, my dinner. She used to come everywhere with me. It was like with the food. She was preparing my whole life, until at a certain point I learned from her, and I like began to figure out a way. Like I struggled at first, of course, but she was there with me. But then step by step, like it became like my normal life now. Like it's like,
no, now it's different. But back then, I mean, to sacrifice, if I may say so, you do not hang out with friends that much. You do not go to some long vacations with your parents or your family. I mean, you are focusing on something, and this is very serious. And particularly when you were involved or you participated in competitions, whether inside or outside Egypt, this is another phase. How have you managed moving from this phase to the other? And you know, I'm asking all this question to my my great athletes who are my always. I'm really honored to have them here. If we are going to go back in time, would you say this to yourself? What I've done to myself. I've not enjoyed my childhood. I've not enjoyed my time when I was in secondary school, for example. I should have been in another place. These ideas just come to your mind, or the answer is a big no?
Like if you asked me this question 2 or 3 years ago, I think I would be in doubt to answer that, because I think like I had big moments of doubt because of especially that matter that I didn't have the same childhood as others. I tried actually to have to be like others in some, like I tried a lot to go out with my friends and stuff, and like you can't do it like the others, like you have to sacrifice, as you said. But now I think that I did the right thing. I think like now I'm enjoying more than others, like I'm experiencing more than others, and like I've sacrificed a lot of things, but I think I'm getting the reward now, so no, I would do it again, I think.
Great. Regarding the very first time you were competing, first here inside Egypt, and what about your first award or your first medal? What was the feeling?
Like I remember my first medal was an honorary one. It was like I didn't have like a place in the tournament, but that was like the first tournament that I played in Tanta. I was like an 8-year-old kid, and I lost like in the early rounds. But then when they were like distributing the trophies to the players and stuff, they just they decided to like give me an honorary medal that I was the youngest player playing the tournament, and I won a match or two. I can't remember exactly, but I was like over the moon because it's like it was
a medal by the end of the day.
It's a different feeling, you know, like yeah, it's a very, very big, like amazing feeling. I think I still feel the same way now, like no one is tired of winning.
Sure.
So it's like yeah.
And what about the first competition outside Egypt?
Actually, my first tournament outside Egypt, it was I remember the British Junior Europe under 13. Like for the categories under 13, 15, 17, like they don't have like a world championship, but they have the British Open, which like we call it's more equivalent to the world championship. I remember I played in it for my first time. I reached the semi-finals. I lost in the semi-final, to another Egyptian guy. So like it was a great experience for me, and also I think it was one of my first times that I traveled abroad. I traveled with my mom and dad, of course, because I was too young to travel alone back then. But it felt different. Like I think starting from back then, I started to be more responsible because like.
Where was it?
It was in England, in Sheffield.
Oh.
Yeah, they hold it every year till now.
I mean, you started in England. I mean, it's not on the African or the Arab arena. You started your very first competition in England. This is very tough.
Yeah, because in squash, like Arab countries, we don't have more, like only have like a small amount of tournaments that are Arab tournaments, and we don't have African tournaments at all. Like once in like every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because like there's no competition a lot between the African teams. Just Egypt and European teams are the most powerful teams in the world, and the US team, some teams in Asia, but in Africa there's not. There's no competition between Egypt and other African countries. So, the top players in Egypt, they go straight away playing to international tournaments with the players in Europe and other countries abroad. So,
well, born on the 9th of January 2002, meaning that you were just 20 years old now.
Yeah.
But you had the experience of joining the big names. I mean, when we were speaking just before being on air, you told me that one of the last matches, and you said it that way, that easy. For me, I felt my heart beating that fast when you told me that one of your last matches was against the Monster, was against Shorbagy. I mean, of course, self-confidence is very important. Forgetting all about the rivals' reputation and level and stuff like that is also one of the main issues. But how have you trained yourself just to focus on you, to focus on your way to play, focus on your points of strength, and focusing on the points of weakness from your rival, forgetting all about his name, despite the fact that you were playing against Shorbagy, and of course you met with all the big names we have?
Actually, it was too hard to do that because I remember saying like before playing the match, I remember saying that I was gonna go ask him for an autograph after the match, because it's like, it's crazy when you see someone like you growing up watching and then suddenly you're inside the court playing against him. It's a very, very, very different feeling, like, you know, like our coaches always tell us, when you just close the door of the court, you just see you and your opponent and you don't think about anything outside the court, but it's like, it's really hard. Like when he plays one of his impressive shots, I was like,
Just
guys,
watching.
yeah,
You turn to be a fan.
Shorbagy, yeah.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I turn into to be a fan, and then like, yeah, you're playing against him, you should not be cheering for him, you know, like. So like it's different experience, and it's like my first season playing against these people. It's like I'm over the moon. Like I
Give me
remember
names.
I played 2 matches, one with Tariq Momin and one with Mohamed Shorbagy. They were both in the span of 2 weeks, so it's like it was an incredible 2 weeks for me. So I think I'm looking back at it now, and like, yeah, I'm very happy. I'm very proud that I played these
Happy
matches.
and proud, and of course there are lessons which
Yeah,
you have
of
learned.
course,
Give me
course.
some.
Playing with different level, with this level, like helps you like improve your game technically, mentally, how to deal with how to deal with some situations you don't see others dealing with. Like there are some situations where you have to like be very intelligent and very accurate to just to deal with it. You can't see other players other than these players dealing with it the same way that they do. And also learning about, I learned like when you watch them on TV, it's totally different thing than playing with them inside the court.
Sure.
Yeah, and like the pace, the accuracy, everything is very, very different. So like, in order to play and compete with this guy, I have to up my level a lot. So I think I got the points, like I got some points I have to start working on to just be able to compete with these guys, and hopefully one day I can.
You will, inshallah. And of course, we are going to speak about all of them, but let me just play a game with you. You mentioned Shorbagy and Tariq Momin. The most important, amazing point, or point of strength to be accurate, points or skill of Shorbagy is
His mental strength,
Momin.
his skills, accuracy and skills.
Tactical?
No,
You mean?
technical skills.
Technical.
Like he plays
Okay.
incredible shots, yeah.
We are going to go to other names. I don't know if you played against them or no, but even not only as a fan, but also as a squash player. I mean, I want a description or just your impression regarding the most important element or skill enjoyed by Ali Farag.
Like his movement, he's very smart mover on the tour. He's the best mover on the tour. He's really smart movement, and
You mean
his-
footwork?
like footwork, and also his agility and his ability to just flexibility and his ability to just change his directions and everything is just very incredible. Like he's the best who can do that. Like it's really hard to win a point against him with his abilities to recover the ball and something. Like he's incredible. Yeah.
Karim Abdelgawad?
Karim Abdelgawad, he's really smart. Like he's one of the smartest people on the tour.
Smart.
Yeah, really,
Faris
really
Dessouky?
smart. Faris Dessouky, I think his skills, like he's really skillful. He has a set of skills. Like
Mustafa Asal?
I think he's really explosive, very powerful. Like he's like you can see him like jumping and going everywhere and just getting all the balls, and like he's very powerful. He just-
Speed?
yeah, speed, explosiveness, and his power, his power of his shot is like is incredible. Like
My favorite, Rami Ashour.
yeah, he's a favorite to us all.
The artist.
Yeah.
The artist. I mean,
yeah.
how I can describe him with a better word, as the International Union said it, the PSA said it. He is the artist. So,
Like he's the most loved player on the tour, like in the history of the tour. Like he's got it all. Got speed, agility, his quality of his shots, the skills. He's got everything. Like
what you have learned from him? Because I wanna focus on something regarding Rami.
the
in
most
specific.
important thing I learned from him that it's never too early to achieve things. Like Rami, like used to play against the giants of the game when he was 19 or 20 years old, and he was beating them back then. So it's like it's never too early to go there.
And from a mom, before being anything else, respect your body's requirements and demands. When there is an injury, please the rehabilitation period is even more important or equally important to the treatment or the way you've managed the whole story. Because one of the main issues, if it was not the main issue behind the earlier retirement of Rami, his knees. And unfortunately, I don't know why he was that in love with squash to return that fast without good rehabilitation, so it ended this way. Anyways, the magician, Amr Shabana.
I was too young when he was playing.
But you
yeah,
and
but
your generation are very
witnessed,
lucky. You can just watch him and watch his matches
yeah,
on
I
YouTube.
watch his matches. He's incredible.
This is it. This is what I wanted to hear.
He's incredible. He's like he's playing squash like different from all other people. He's the most accurate player, accurate shots playing I've ever seen in my life. He's like he also a tactical genius. He's like he knows what he's going to play and what you are going to play, and he reads the mind of his opponents all the time.
Have you played against a left-handed player before?
Yeah, I played against like the best one I think I played against is Yusuf Ibrahim.
I mean, because Yusuf is following suit Amr Shabana.
Yeah.
With his left hand, he was the magician, and I mean, it was such a difficulty in front of his opponents because of his left hand.
Yeah, he's definitely on his way to be like he's already a good player. Like he's a top player now.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's incredible. Like I remember when I was younger, he was like 3 or 4 years older than me. I used to watch his matches when I was young. Like he's an incredible player. I also like on a good terms with him, like personally, and he's a really good guy.
Yeah, he is. And by the way, all of you, far from anger management, because you should be a good loser and you should manage your anger. And this is very, very short messages to one of my favorites also, because he is also as a son of mine, Mustafa Asal. Please calm down a little bit. Returning back to our role models, because this is very important, and this is to tell me about your tactics. I mean, when any of the coaches watching you, he would liken you to any of the previous names, or you do have your own style with some touch similar to Janshir Khan, for example, Barada, Shabana, Ashur, who?
I think like most of them were saying like some coaches were saying like I play like a bit like Faris.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think I'm not like, I don't know, like I'm not like copying this style or something like
but
exactly.
I mean
but
the
yeah,
style.
I think I have some glimpses. Some coaches have some glimpses of Faris.
Mm-hmm.
And recently I was told that you know Victor Krouan, like he's a good player now. A lot of coaches said to me that like playing somehow the same way. So I think these two, yeah. And
do you have other role models far from the Egyptians, or are you just focusing on us because we was all the time on top?
Actually, I don't have to go outside Egypt to get the role models in squash. Actually, like the Egyptian players are incredible.
For example, you would find Paul Cole, for example. You would. I mean, there are of course names who are that much equal, and they were doing great, but we do have another taste, if I may say so.
Yeah.
So this is also what you feel, or for me as a fan, this is my impression.
No, I think like Egypt in squash is like Brazilian football. Like there is a key behind all that, but you don't know what it is, you know. Like, but I think most important thing that we all play with each other. So like when like now and back 2-3 years ago, like I used to know, like I know Ali like personally, I know Tariq personally. We train together, we play a lot. Like all the Egyptian players like play with each other. I don't think other countries in the world do that because of the like geography of these countries. So like to have all these players playing in just 2 or 3 cities, playing all with each other. So I think that's the main key behind all this success, and I can't imagine like seeing one of these players every day and just having a role model in another
not to have a role model, but
like
I mean, you know, from time to time you on YouTube, oh, I wanna see this match, and you would go to some of the other names, maybe to be introduced to another style, to another school, something like that. I mean, I'm just having this discussion to know how do you view the whole story from a panoramic view. I mean,
yeah, there are like incredible players from outside Egypt. Like when I was young, I used to watch Gautier and Matthew. They're really incredible players. Like really good mentality, good shots. Like they're really incredible. I also like watch Paul now. Like he's playing a whole different style than all.
This is it. Different styles.
Yeah. Like he's made his own style. Like all the players used to play high pace and just like hit the ball hard, and he's so smooth with the ball, so smooth defensively. He's like he developed his own style, and I think it's working out very fine for him. There are other players as well. Diego Elias is a really dangerous player.
And there's someone from Germany, I can't remember his name right now.
Simon Rosner.
Rosner, yes,
Yeah.
Rosner.
Yeah, he was a good player.
He was.
And he was
yes.
actually a good professional athlete. Like he had professionalism. That's what I like most about him. He was a good person before
This
being
is
a good
exactly
athlete.
what I want to reach, Yahya, to have the most, the nicest elements, the most important, great skills and elements in each, and to learn from each. This is to form your character, your personality, and then you are gonna add your personal touch, of course, to reach your own style. This needs a lot of work. And far from your dear mom, thank you, Iman, for everything. You're doing a great job, by the way. You should have a nutritionist, you should have some coaches, mental coaches, physical coaches. I mean, you should have a team. Do you have this team, or before you had this team and now you are doing everything on your own?
No. Of course, I have a team now. Like now, it's the most important time for me to have a team behind me, because it's the most challenging part of my career right now. So yeah, I have like my main coach Karim Ali. I have a fitness coach Osam Shaddad, and I play also with another coach Abdurrahman Sergani. I also have my nutritionist Dr. Shadil Habib. I have my mental coach Dr. Ahmad Salah. I've been working with him for the past 3 or 4 months, because I was struggling before that mentally, but like we figured out a way, and he's been really helpful.
You're gonna tell me the difference between you 4 months ago and you now, but right after this. We are going to go and to watch a very small profile of one of the great icons of squash, and we are going to return back, so stay tuned.
Jansher Khan, born on the 15th of June 1969, a Pakistani squash player considered to be among the sport's most talented figures. For many years, the name Khan had been synonymous with success in the game of squash. Jansher first came to prominence when, as an unknown, he said near Chia in 1986, a feat he repeated at the next junior tournament in Scotland 2 years later. Yet, such was his maturity that he sandwiched his first men's World Open victory between them in May 1987. That was also the year when he sidestepped the popular principle of deferring to seniors by beating Jahangir 3 times. Jansher moved to the top of the world rankings and thereafter shrugged off his challengers. Khan's wary frame, lightning reflexes, and speed were complemented by great racket work and a relentless training regimen that outstripped those of his contemporaries. In spite of his obvious talent, however, his pathway into the history books was also strewn with a number of public incidents. Occasionally, in unimportant matches, he gave the impression of not playing as hard as he could, but Khan dismissed his critics. And he was quoted as saying, "I am the world champion, but I'm not a machine that always wins and gets it right." His high, clipped way of speaking also made it difficult for him to project himself, which thus helped to earn him a label as unfriendly to the media. In 1997, Khan's tally of British Open titles reached 6, its apex, but the measure of his domination over the sport was clearly evident with his 8 World Open triumphs. Khan formally announced his intent to retire from the sport in 2001, but returned to compete again several years thereafter. By then, however, His previous excellence on the international stage was on the wane. Regardless, he had already earned his place on the short list of the world's great squash players.
Welcome back. Yahya, you said a very important statement or a phrase. I was suffering mentally before, so I resorted to a mental coach and we figured out what to do. Now the case is totally different. You decided that you have a problem, you confessed to yourself that there is a problem, and you worked on solving it. Tell me now the differences. Yahya 4 months ago and Yahya now.
No, actually, before saying that, like the part about confession, like I had big
Denial?
fights with my mom, like for a
Okay.
whole year, denying that I have to go to a mental coach, and then like things got like too bad for me for the start of this year. I lost in 2 or 3 tournaments, like I shouldn't have lost matches, and I was like going to a dark area, but then like I had like my mom, my coach told me that there is no other solution, that you have to go to a mental coach, because like your greatest weakness is your mental strength. So you have to focus on that as well as focusing on your squash. You have to focus on your mental strength as well. So I resorted to Dr. Ahmed Salah, and like he helped me like be more like to know myself first and be able to explore myself more, and then be able to understand myself. And
What have you
and deal with
discovered?
it.
What have you discovered as the main issue, the main problem?
Like there was not just main problem, there was like, I think that like the main problem, like I lacked communication with myself. Like I didn't know how to communicate with myself in a positive way. I was always like terrified when I play tournaments. Like lately, like let's just, I mean like the start of this year, like I was too nervous playing in tournaments, and it's like there was something wrong with the communication with myself. Like I think when I went to Dr. Ahmed, like he helped me build this bridge between my conscious and my subconscious, like to know how to deal with myself more, how to talk to myself in a better way, how to like work on myself better, and like talk positively. I think this is the key that I'm still working on it. I still haven't figured out completely, but I think I'm still on the right track. Like,
And you figured out that there is a difference.
yeah, there's
and
a big
now-
difference, of course.
And you are improving, you are going to the better.
Yes.
Great. Because as you've kindly mentioned, sometimes we deny it. And when we decide to go for treatment or to handle the whole issue, this is the big story. But also, Yahya, a very busy schedule. I mean, how many tournaments do you participate in per year?
Like 12, 13 at least. Like sometimes you just go for more than that in a calendar year, but
And of course, all over the world.
yeah.
I mean, you are suffering jet lag more than anything else.
Yeah, but not all of them are like far away. Like you suffer jet lag when you're going far away, like to Malaysia or to the US. Like if you're going far
Like
away.
what you're gonna do next week, inshallah. You're going to go to the States, and you are going. You told me you're going to start on the 8th of October, something like this. So,
Yeah, like when you go to a far place, like there's a big time difference. You just there are different preparations to it. You just try to make your practice like close to the time of the matches you're gonna play. Like sometimes when I'm going to the Malaysia or something, I train like very late so that I can have the
Manage.
feeling. Yeah, and then when you go there, you go like 2 or 3 days earlier than usual, so that you.
To prepare or to manage your biological hour.
You overcome the jet
Yeah.
lag and stuff. So like different preparations, but when you get used to it, like when you do it a lot, you get used to it. And actually, like when I started traveling, like compared to now, I now suffer a lot less from jet lag than before. So it was like you get used to it, your body gets used to it somehow. I think that's the key, like different
That's the key.
preparations. Yeah.
now it's your dreams, your ambitions. Let it go.
Of course, any player would dream to like major dreams, like to be world number one, be world champion. I think it's a lot work to do to get to this point, but I think these are the two main dreams for me. But I think for me, being world number one is more important than being world champion, because like world number one means like you have been consistent enough to be really the best player on the tour. I think I will do all I can to reach one of those, or even both if I'm so lucky. So
Inshallah, you are going, inshallah, to be lucky. Let's cross our fingers. And you are such a hard worker. And when you insist on something, I think you do enjoy such determination to reach your goals. But you know, when I was asking you this question, I thought that you were going to mention the Olympic Games, for example. Oh, what if squash is included into the Olympic Games? I think we are going to achieve all medals. I think no one is going even to intrude. And the thing is that we listen to a great like Nicole Davis, for example, when she said in one of the promos, I would sacrifice all my my medals for an Olympic medal. Do you share her the same statement or the same point of view, or whenever the Olympic Games are not there, of course, okay, let's forget all about it and let's focus on what we are doing?
I think it would be like it's a great honor to be playing in the Olympics, but I think I don't want to be like squash. We now have the World Championships, we have the tour. We don't have Olympics in the squash. Although like if squash is in the Olympics, it will be like on a whole different level, and it will like make the sport like more popular. Everyone want to play it. It will be bigger and grow bigger and bigger. But I think for me at least, I think it's wiser to focus on what you have. Like if squash is in the Olympic Games, it will be perfect for everyone in squash. Like we all are pushing, we are hoping that squash is gonna be in the Olympics. I think there's a potential that it's gonna be in the Olympics in 2028. But I'm just trying to focus on what we have now, and if we have Olympic Games, like it will be great. I even can't imagine how the sport will grow if it's in the Olympic Games. Like. It's for the better of all of us.
Very systematic, disciplined, well-cultured, well-educated, very determined, knowing well what he wants, setting his goals, very self-confident. I was really proud to have him, because this is one of the role models we should have. An athlete studying mechanical engineering, only 20 years old. This was my dear guest live here in the studio today in this very special episode of Score Sheet, Yahya Nawasani. Yahya, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Really a pleasure.
My honor, thank you.
We're going to leave you, but with a promise to see you again in more episodes, maybe after you return back from the States.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much.
Inshallah.
Thank you.
By this, we come to the end of this very special episode of Score Sheet. Till we meet again, same time on Nile TV International. Many thanks for watching. With all my love, this was Nirmina Abdurrahman.